Hello, and welcome to the season 3 of the Atlanta Opera's BlinkOpera podcast. I am Indra Thomas, soprano, and I am thrilled to be your host for this week's episode, walking you through the charming opera, The Anonymous Lover, by the trailblazing 18th century Black composer Joseph Bologna, Chevalier de Saint-Georges. The story of the anonymous lover cannot truly be appreciated without celebrating the man behind it, Joseph Bologna. Born in the then French colony of Guadeloupe on Christmas Day of 1745, Bologna was taken to Paris at the age of 7 and began his musical studies, studying with the major teachers and artists of the day. His development as a violinist and composer was unprecedented, and he quickly assumed positions within premier institutions. His growth was even more notable considering the significant discrimination he faced, with elements of French nobility often exerting their influence to oppose the performance of his works and advancements in his career. In spite of this rampant discrimination, Joseph Bologna established himself as a prolific artist on par with more traditional famous composers and peers as Mozart, Salieri, and Gluck. Even within the fascinating career of Joseph Bologna, his work, The Anonymous Lover, stands out as particularly notable. His only surviving complete opera, The Anonymous Lover, is based on a play created by contemporary and friend Félicité de Genlis, and its light-hearted nature is further notable considering the collaboration was between a Black man and a white woman during a time when such a partnership was likely to garner unwanted attention. Now, The Anonymous Lover is an example of trailblazing 18th century pioneers that have just recently gained a long-deserved spotlight. And beyond these works now being actively staged, continues to be explored through mainstream film. Part 1. Joseph Bologna, Chevalier de Saint-Georges, contemplates aloud, shedding light on his most recent opus, L'Amant Anonyme, about to be performed for the honored guest of Madame de Montesson. The composer steps into the lead role of Valcourt, while his contemporary and patron, Madame de Montesson, is given the role of Dorothy. The performers arrange the set in the fashion of the salon performance, and the play begins. For years now, Valcourt has been suffering from an unrequited love for the striking young widow Leontine, which we hear in the aria Depuis longtemps. With the hand of his friend and confidant, Offimont, Valcourt has been lavishing Leontine with gifts, flowers, and love letters. All this he has done anonymously in an effort of self-preservation. Leontine was left devastated following her late husband's death, and Valcourt is convinced that she has no desire to spark a romance with someone new. He reveals to Offimont that he feels his attempts to win the affection of Leontine have at last proved unavailing. Offimont counters his sentiment, telling Valcourt that it is imperative he lay bare his secrets. Tant de constance, tant d'amour.
Tant de constance, tant d'amour. Tant de constance, tant d'amour.
Leontine unintentionally overhears the two going back and forth, discovering the truth about Valcourt's profound and maddening love for her. Bologna is taken aback by the sight of Marie-Joséphine de Montalembert playing the role of Leontine. His awe draws him away from the play briefly, but Madame de Montesson summons him back and the performance carries on. Leontine, trying to veil any allusion to her discovery, goes to Valcourt and asks him to settle a dispute she is having with Dorothy. Leontine has received a bouquet of flowers from the anonymous lover, along with a letter imploring her to carry the bouquet at the wedding later that day. According to the letter, the anonymous lover will concede and cease his amorous pursuit if she does not. Dorothy believes it would be harmless for Leontine to accept the flowers. Hoping to observe Valcourt's reaction, Leontine claims she does not want to hurt her secret admirer's feelings, nor lead him on in her aria Son amour sa constance extrême. Dorothy seems surprised by Leontine's odd behavior, while Valcourt succeeds in convincing Leontine to carry the flowers. Jeannette and Colin, the young couple about to be betrothed, arrived on the scene and expressed their gratitude towards Leontine for making their wedding possible. We hear this in the chorus, Chantons, célébrons Notre-Dame. They invited their guests to revel with them in the love and joy of the moment. You hear this in their song, Jouissez de allégresse. Leontine is surprised, but this wedding seems to be one of the festivities the anonymous lover regularly organizes for her. The guests are eager to continue the wedding preparations as an infectious jubilance fills the air. Dorothy even improvises a special gift for the happy couple. Dorothy, Leontine, and Valcourt find themselves alone in a brief moment as the wedding guests begin the festivities inside Leontine's villa. Valcourt teases Leontine that the anonymous lover might be very well closer than she thinks. He persuades her to call out to her mysterious suitor and insists he reveals himself. When she obliges, Valcourt crudely attempts to mock the situation, overdramatically declaring that it is in fact he who has been the tormented anonymous lover all along. Valcourt's joke invokes the tantalizing chuckle from Dorothy, but there seems to be a revelation at this moment. A glimpse of genuine transparency between Valcourt and Leontine unnerves them both, and they feel seen by one another. Leontine is overwhelmed, even dizzy, and everyone's efforts to help only exacerbates the incident. Valcourt and Offalmont nervously try to convince Leontine that it was all in jest, and Jeannette and Colin are sympathetic to Leontine's palpable anguish in this quintet, Que de mots mon cœur sent. Interlude. We travel into the future and into reality. Marie-Joséphine de Montalembert has received a poignant and melancholy letter from Joseph Bologna. We listen to the Largo of his Concerto Opus 8, Numero 2 in G, composed after learning about the death of his baby boy. Part 2. Alone, Leontine is overcome with embarrassment. She laments that Valcourt is unlikely to understand her feelings, though she longs to unburden her heart. in this recitative, Enfin une folle l'importune. Valcourt impresses upon Ophémon to go to Leontine and tell her that he has spoken with the anonymous lover. Leontine pressures him for details, but Ophémon resists in this duet, Ah, finissez de grâce. Eventually, Ophémon concedes. He tells her how the anonymous lover agonizes over the impossibility that Leontine would love him, but that he wishes to reveal his identity anyway in this aria, Aimer sans pouvoir le dire. Leontine agrees to meet. As she awaits the arrival of her not-so-anonymous lover, Leontine realizes that her heart is now full of passion, something she never expected in this aria de tendre amour. Valcourt arrives. Leontine tries everything to get him to confess his love for her, but Valcourt maintains that his presence is a mere act of friendship and support in this duet, Non je ne puis rien entendre. Ophémon and Dorothy, accompanied by the whole village, are listening outside the door. At last, Leontine and Valcourt surrender and profess their love for one another, ignorant to the fact that Leontine has been aware of it for some time now. Valcourt prepares to reveal himself as the anonymous lover in this trio, Ah, quel trouble. Before he has the chance, Leontine kisses him, and their powerful embrace puts an end to any uncertainties. Leontine shares the joyous news with Dorothy, who had been hoping for this outcome all along with Ophémon. They all join Jeannette and Calan for what is now a double wedding in this chorus de noces à la fois. The two couples rejoice in happiness as song and dance ensue all around them in this quartet, Aimons-nous sans cesse. I'm soprano Indra Thomas. Thank you for joining me in this week's episode of the Atlanta Opera podcast, BlinkOpera. If you enjoyed learning more about the anonymous lover, please rate and review this podcast on Apple Podcasts. It's a great way for more people like you to find out about our content. And don't forget to follow the Atlanta Opera podcast for more great episodes.